I decided to try a keto diet after hearing Layne Norton and D'Agostino discuss its benefits and drawbacks. Before getting started, I measured my strength, body composition, productivity, and blood markers to see whether my experience matched Dom or Layne's claims. I just finished 3 weeks of the diet and my results are in. Over the 3 weeks, I was using urine strips to measure whether or not I was in ketosis.
The urine strip is actually pretty good relative marker.
And by day 4, they were showing a small to moderate amount of ketones, which I sustained throughout the whole 3 weeks. Dom claims that one of the benefits of a keto diet is that it naturally restricts your appetite, which allows you to lose weight.
Appetite regulation is influenced positively by nutritional ketosis in ways that we're just starting to learn now.
Well, you can certainly feel it. It's one of the weirder things about the
Yes.
ketogenic diet. When you're in that state, all of a sudden you're just not hungry the same. There's not an overwhelming need for food.
This means that a huge advantage of the diet is that you wouldn't need to track your calories and macronutrients in order to lose fat.
With a low carb and with a ketogenic diet, that becomes a practical strategy to create a sustainable calorie deficit.
But this is something that Layne disagrees with.
That is not always going to work. Some people don't feel that satiated on a ketogenic diet. There are people who do feel hungrier on that.
I limited myself to 20 grams of net carbs throughout the process so that I could stay in ketosis the entire time. But other than that, I ate as much fat and protein as my body desired. I started tracking my food so that I could know what I was eating, and on average, I consumed about 3,800 calories per day. And even to me, this sounds like a lot. Then I realized that if I was eating as much carbs as I wanted, I would probably be eating closer to 5,000 calories a day. So while it did restrict my appetite, it didn't necessarily restrict it enough to create a caloric deficit.
I believe that the ketogenic diet shines when you are in a calorie deficit.
But it's hard to know whether or not I was in a caloric deficit because even though I lost 2 pounds, I lost 3 pounds of lean mass and my body fat percentage increased by 0.5%. Layne mentions...
So there was a recent study. They did show that ketogenic versus non-ketogenic diet in people who were lifting weights, trying to get bigger, that there was actually slightly less muscle mass using the ketogenic diet.
But losing lean mass doesn't necessarily mean losing muscle because it could also include water weight. And this would make more sense in my case because the diet didn't have a negative impact on my strength. Joe asks what the effect of the diet would be on physical performance.
Overall, is the ketogenic diet a good strategy for someone that's involved in some sort of a brutal athletic pursuit?
And Dom tells him that he believes the diet can be as effective as anything else.
It can be, absolutely, and it will be dependent upon being keto adapted over time.
Although this adaptation would take a while.
What's the time period we're talking about?
For me, I did not feel myself it took me about 3 to 4 months.
In my experience, this adaptation took way less time. Over just 3 weeks of the diet, my combined 1 rep max increased by 12 pounds. But my question was, if I lost weight, how could I have gained strength? And I think this answer might be at least partially explained by my blood markers. During the diet, my testosterone increased by 6.5%, and my vitamin B12 levels were off the chart. Although these results are positive, they weren't the biggest changes in my blood markers that I saw. In just 3 weeks, my LDL cholesterol rose 184% from 1.82 to 5.17 millimoles per liter. There is a debate over whether high saturated fat consumption and blood cholesterol levels are as bad as we once thought that they were. But according to Layne,
the research data that I've seen, in my opinion, shows that saturated fat absolutely was demonized. It's not as bad as we thought. But if you eat too much of it, it's not great either.
Since I don't know enough about cholesterol to go against conventional wisdom, I would have a hard time recommending this diet to someone who's concerned with heart disease. But being naive and in my 20s, preventing end-of-life illnesses are much lower on my priority list than improving my mental performance and productivity. These are the changes that I was looking forward to most from a keto diet. And Dom claims that ketones are a superior fuel.
So ketones, they are sort of by definition have a metabolic superiority as a fuel source, and they readily cross the blood-brain barrier. They can largely replace glucose as a primary energy source in your brain under periods of fasting or ketogenic diet.
He even credits his own success in academia to this metabolic superiority.
That, for me, had tremendous practical applications that allowed me, I feel, to excel through academia. I was able to do a lot more work.
An increase in productivity is usually completely subjective, but I did my best to measure this as objectively as possible. I plan my life in 3-week cycles called sprints. In each sprint, there's a series of tasks that I want to get done, and each task has a score assigned to it based on the time I believe it's going to take and the complexity of getting it done. At the end of the sprint, I count the total number of points that I achieved from all the tasks that I got done and use this to measure my productivity against previous sprints. And during the keto diet, my sprint speed or productivity levels increased by almost 50%. So this brings me to the question of whether or not I would recommend a keto diet. And this is hard to say because, like Layne says,
well, low carb is better. compared to what? And what's the cost on performance or any of these other things?
And what are your goals? If you want to improve your cognitive performance, then it seems better than higher carbs. But if you want to reduce your cholesterol, then it's unquestionably worse. It might be a good way to naturally restrict your appetite, but that's only if you have enough discipline to eliminate carbs. Every diet is going to be better than others at one variable, but worse at another. That's why the most important thing is to know what your priorities are before you choose a diet. It's also why I'm now testing a higher carb flexible diet to see how these two compare. In the meantime, I'm going to make a video comparing my keto diet results with my carnivore diet results. If you want to see all these results to make an informed decision about what will work best for your goals, then subscribe to this channel and I'll keep you updated. For now, thanks for watching.